What's going on, everyone? Don and Ellie here. Thank you again for checking out this latest video. So for today, we're going to end up doing something a little different. I'm going to be doing a special rundown on the last 2 months of releases from WellGo USA. I'm lucky enough to be on their list for screeners, so I've gotten the releases, but unlike some of the other companies I work with, they don't send everything in bulk. They send everything one at a time, so I don't have a like an unboxing video to unveil. So I figured this would be a fine little substitute and give you a chance to get some more content on here. So first of all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the releases one at a time. Give you brief thoughts on these. All of these are actually really good. You probably should take a look at them if you can. I'm not gonna go too deep into these. You can find all of the releases on my website. I'll link that down below for you guys. Check them out if you want more in-depth stuff. But let's go ahead and get started here with the releases. So we're going to be doing this for May and June, just because, figure might as well start there. So the first one from May was Morgue. Now, this is a Paraguayan horror film. It's actually the first film from there that I've seen. Film concerns a guy who takes a job as a security guard at a mortuary in order to earn extra money, and comes to find out the place is haunted. As you can guess, it's pretty typical stuff. Nothing too original or unique or over the top. Just basically, your traditional. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the typical indie supernatural stuff, typical ghost scares, the usual kind of, noises off in the distance, guy goes to investigate, nothing there, or turn a corner and there's something there, and, he turns a corner and something's there that you weren't expecting, stuff like that. However, I'm not going to really ding the film too badly because, one, it's Paraguay's first horror movie, or at least the first one that I'm at least aware of. So I don't know if this is like indicative of their other stuff, if there's actually anything else out there. I don't know if there's anything else that they've done. This, like I said, this is the first one I've ever seen. So I'm not too familiar with the country's genre output, so I'm going to give them a pass just because, you got to start somewhere. Overall, though, if you're willing to get past that, it's enjoyable. The scares aren't that bad. Some of them actually are kind of tense and thrilling, and you can actually jump at a couple of them. It picks up considerably in the final half when all this stuff starts happening, so you really get like a really strong last half hour. So overall, yeah, it's definitely worth watching, especially those that like the supernatural kind of stuff. Yeah, like I said, it's a ghost film, so if you're into that kind of stuff, it's definitely worthwhile, worth picking up and checking out. So beyond that, we have 4 non-horror films, but they're all they're all action films, sort of. The next one on the list is Deliver Us from Evil. Weird title aside, because that's actually the title of a horror film from 2014, 15. Anyways, this one's a little different. It concerns a hitman who has decided to put the life behind him, and he's done his last job. He wants to quit the life, and comes to find out he's got a long lost daughter from this woman that he met years ago, who got kidnapped and is held for ransom by this strange child kidnapping ring. So he sets off to investigate it, but comes to find out that the brother of the last victim that he hit, he's come back. He's set out for revenge on him. So he's got to dodge the killer. He's got to dodge the brother while he's trying to track down this child kidnapping ring. It's actually kind of fun. There's some really stellar action scenes in here. Really close up, really brutal, kind of kinetic stuff. There's 2 big fight scenes. One in a meat packing plant, that you get to see the brother of the murder target. You get to see him in action, which is really fun. And then there's the big finale at the end where they come together and they have that big expected drag out brawl that you expect. Really fun stuff. Maybe it's a tad too overlong. It's like an hour and 50 minutes kind of, so it could probably use a little bit of trimming. Some of the stuff doesn't necessarily need to be there, but you could do a lot worse. And if you're into those kinds of thrilling action films, this is definitely a good one. I really recommend it. Next up would be Undercover Punch and Gun. So this is again another one that's not necessarily one that's all that original. Undercover cop finds that his cover is exposed, and he has to set out with a team of fellow police officers to track down this arms dealer. Rudimentary stuff, nothing too original, nothing too spectacular, but this one actually really works on the strength of its action scenes. Philip Ning, who I think is the martial arts director, he's one of the big guys that's currently popping up, and he's the main star, and he's the he's the action director involved in this, and the scenes in here are actually really good. There's a lot of hand-to-hand fighting scenes, a lot of traditional traditional Hong Kong, bouncing around the scenery kind of stuff. Nothing with really obvious fireworks. It's kept to the ground. A lot of traditional actual martial arts, but they're hard hitting. They have a really fun dynamic to them that's actually really kind of enjoyable. So it's actually it's okay if it's really good if you're into that kind of thing, but if you're looking for original fare or looking for something that's off, that does something new and unique with the material, then it's kind of just been there, done that kind of a thing. So I'd probably say that this was the weakest of the films, even though it's actually still really good. But yeah, if you're not a stickler for originality in your stories and you just want, a hard-hitting action film, it delivers. But, just don't expect anything much more than that. So, next on the list is The Great War of Archimedes. Now, I have to admit, this is probably the most surprising on the list because it's not technically a true action film. It's actually kind of... I want to say it's a drama more than anything. So, the story of this one is actually the construction of the battleship Yamato. For those of you that don't know history, Yamato was a Japanese battleship that was said to be the largest warship ever set sail and used in a military conflict, I believe. Although this here is actually it takes place before the war, so this is World War II, obviously. So it takes place before the war, and it's actually it concerns this military tactician who tries to prove to the top brass, the head of the Japanese military, that the Yamato is actually unfit for battle, that it's too large to actually... I don't want to spoil this, but it's not a feasible weapon for war. And they hire this math technician to come in and see if they can actually get this thing, to set sail. So it's all about, finding formulas, finding out whether or not the ship can, function. And then there's the secondary side plot involving whether or not the thing can actually be built within the specifications that were initially submitted. So it's not really a war film in that kind of a sense of, seeing soldiers fighting through the trenches or, setting out to sea and, going into combat. It's actually more, involved in the behind-the-scenes stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a scene in the original. There is a scene in the beginning of the film involving the Yamato in battle, and it shows the sinking of the ship. So you do get this, strong opening. The strong, rousing military action scene to open the film. But after that, it kind of flashes back and it goes into, like I said, trying to figure out whether or not the thing can actually float, and then figuring out whether or not the ship can actually be built. So it's kind of this weird thing where it's not. It doesn't feel like it's a WellGo film. Let's just put it that way. But ironically, I actually still really enjoyed it. I actually stayed invested in it the whole time, even though it wasn't, something that I would typically watch. I'll say this flat out: if this wasn't from WellGo, I wouldn't have watched it. But yeah, it's strangely watchable, and there's this odd tone to it that it keeps it invested and it keeps it enjoyable. 2 hours and 10 minutes though, kind of a long one. You could have actually ended this a lot earlier, and you would have had like a fantastic finale if you would have ended things maybe 10 minutes earlier. But yeah, this one's actually kind of surprising. I was really impressed with it, and it's not a traditional WellGo film, but if it sounds interesting, if you're into that kind of thing, you could do a lot worse. Those expecting hardcore military action, something along the lines of Operation Red Sea or Operation Mekong or any of like the other traditional military war movies that WellGo makes, you're going to be severely disappointed at. After the opening, it probably may not be worthwhile to watch it, but if you're interested in the rest of this stuff, it's really good, and I was, like I said, really surprised that I liked it that much. And lastly, we have the pick of the litter. This one was just released a few days ago. This is The Paper Tigers. I've been wanting to see this one for a while, and it did not disappoint. So the story is 3 martial arts students who were, top dogs at their dojo. 20 years have passed, and they're now middle-aged. Family men, dead in jobs, that sort of a thing. They come together when they realize that their old master was killed, and somebody, is looking in to move in on their territory and establish themselves as this new big, the big thing in the area. And they have to put their their rusted skills to the test in order to solve the murder. So, I gotta say, this one is so good. All 3 of the main guys are immensely likable. All 3 of them are really good together. There's not much really I can say without spoiling it, but think kind of like a Karate Kid kind of a thing, where it's not necessarily about the action, but it's a story that includes martial arts on around the edge, sort of a thing. You do get your fighting, you do get your martial arts scenes. There's enough there to keep you invested if you're into that, but it's really more about the guys accepting who they are and what they can do and using that to their advantage. So it's not necessarily this thrilling balls to the walls kind of a movie, but it's all about how everything comes together in the end, which I can't spoil for now because I don't really want to be that kind of a person that spoils things like this. Oh man, this is really good, and I am so glad that that WellGo was able to pick this up. Yeah, this is the one that I would recommend if you needed anything to pick up. That and Deliver Us from Evil are probably my 2 favorites. And then, like I said, Great War, and then Morgue, and then at the very end, Undercover Punch and Gun. Even though that, like I said, that one is still enjoyable and watchable, that one's probably like the lowest on the list. But yeah, like I said, Paper Tigers was really good. If you're interested in like the Jet Li, Jackie Chan kind of a martial arts movie, it may not be for you. But if you're like the Karate Kid kind of a storyline involving martial arts, then you're really going to enjoy this one. Definitely try to pick that one up if you can. So Like I said, if I don't have anything else deeply to get into, just because I don't want to spoil anything, I guess that'll be all for today. If you want more details on these films, like I said, you can check out my blog. You can find it at donshorrorworld.blogspot.com, where I have these and many more reviews, articles, interviews, all kinds of stuff on there if you're interested in checking it out. But other than that, yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.